This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, a weekly recap of your Philadelphia Eagles. Broadcasting live from Hard Rock Cafe in Philadelphia, tonight's show is brought to you by Penn Community Bank, Hard Rock Cafe, Philadelphia, Independence Blue Cross, The Capitol Grill, Rob's Automotive and Collision, and BCWSA. We now go live to the Hard Rock Cafe in downtown Center City, Philadelphia for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and Paul Domowitch.
And welcome, everybody, to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff right here from the Hard Rock Cafe at 12th and Market on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM. Also streaming on Facebook Live. We are happy to be here with our first playoff edition of the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff because the Birds' opponent has been set for Saturday. My co-host Paul Domowitch, Ray Didinger, we brought him back tonight. He is the man. And a little surprise about Ray that we'll tell you soon about Saturday night. But Damo, the one thing, before we get to Ray, the one thing the Eagles have found out, who they're going to play and when they're going to play, and it's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the best matchup they could hope for.
Yep.
It's not going to be a gimme. I mean, Giants played pretty well this weekend. So, but I mean, yeah, it works out well for them.
And Ray, first of all, welcome back to the show. Great to have you here.
Good to be with you.
Hope retirement's going well. Hope the kids' football games and field hockey games are going well. I know we kind of shared a mutual disdain for the Vikings this weekend. I picked the Vikings to lose 3 weeks ago to whoever they played. I heard you on the air talk about the Giants this weekend. I think this is the best matchup for the Eagles. The unknown of Seattle, who knows about that? Obviously, you can't play San Francisco or Minnesota. What do you think about the matchup Saturday night?
I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be an NFC East dogfight. Yeah. I think it's going to more closely resemble their second meeting than their first. I don't expect it to be 44-28 or whatever that game was, 48 whatever that game was. I don't expect it to be anything like that. I expect it to be a grind, sort of similar to the last game of the regular season. Giants played really good yesterday, and they, that's probably the best game they've played all year, and they're peaking at the right time, playing with a lot of confidence, and they have nothing to lose because nobody thought they were going to be here. And if you believe in pressure in the postseason, and I do think it's a factor, the pressure is all on the Eagles as the number one seed. So this is going to be, I fully expect this to be a tough game. I really do. I think the Eagles will win it, but I think it's going to be a game that's going to go down to the fourth quarter.
Yeah. There's some things that really concern me. First, the injuries. I mean, Lane Johnson's going to try and play, but I mean, he's got a torn abductor muscle, which is essentially a sports hernia.
Yeah.
It's how that's going to affect him. We'll find out when he goes out there. But I mean, they're prepared. I've talked to some people that know his situation and say, they're ready to go with Driscoll. I mean, because they don't know that he's going to be able to last. And the other guy is Jalen. I mean, he thought he had separated that shoulder when he first hurt it.
I'm not sure he didn't.
Yeah, and he came out of this last game really hurt, sore. And, and it made that – I mean, you talked about the second Giants game, 1 for 5 in the red zone because, Wink Martindale knew he was not going to run.
Sure.
And Jalen's running is why they spent most of the season as the first number one ranked red zone offense in the league. So, I mean, he's got to be able to run this week, and, that's going to leave him exposed. So, you don't know how that's going to end.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, a lot of people were asking me about the matchups, about the possible matchups, who could they play, I said it doesn't matter who they're going to play, in my mind. The question isn't really about who they're playing. The question is
how they play.
Who are they playing with?
Yeah.
If you're talking about the Eagles team of early December, the team that went up to the Meadowlands and beat the Giants, they could beat anybody. I mean, if that team was clearly the best team in the NFL at that time, and there was nobody who was going to stop them. But everything changed in Chicago. The next week in Chicago, when Hurts went down, everything changed. And now you just have to – if that same team comes out on the field on Saturday, if Hurts is playing like Hurts and Lane can gut it out, then this team has a real chance. But they got to show me. I think that I'm kind of with Paul. I thought from the beginning. I think they've been really underplaying this injury. I think it's way worse than they're talking about a sprained shoulder. I'd be willing to bet you it's a separation and maybe even some rotator cuff damage. I mean, that was a nasty hit he took.
It was a nasty hit, and he's taken nasty hits. And Daniel Jones ran the ball yesterday. We'll see if Jalen can do that Saturday. We'll go over the whole playoff grid, what happened this weekend, Super Wildcard weekend. Obviously, with the concentration on the Eagles-Giants game. But both of you guys, I got a quick question first. I'm a poker player, and I guess being very competitive leads to this comment. I don't believe in the term house money. I think it's a non-existent term. If you get somewhere, you might as well do what you need to do to get there. I don't care if you're the 98th ranked team in the world. If you get to a final, play your heart out, think you're going to win. Don't ever think you're playing with house money. I think that's a crock. I think people use that term as an excuse before a game starts or before whatever you're doing starts. I just don't believe in the term house money in any way, shape, or form. Am I crazy, Ray?
I think it applies in some cases. I don't think it applies universally. I don't think it applies across the board. But I think certain teams feel it and play it to their advantage, that they don't feel that there's all that pressure on them. There's not so much expectation. I'll tell you where the Giants are right now reminds me very much of the Phillies going into the postseason. Scraps, you're fighting just to get in. And it looks almost like you're choking down the stretch and you're going to blow it and you're not going to get in. And then you find yourself in. And at that point, you just kind of say, well, hell, let's just go play. Yeah. The whole idea was, and the Giants and the Phillies were almost missing the playoffs about the same number of times, like 11 years and 12 years. It had been that long. Let's just get in the playoffs. Let's just be a playoff team. And then the last couple of games, it looks like, oh, my God, we're not going to make it. And then they make it, and now they're in, and it's okay, fellas. Let's just go play. Yeah. And that was when you saw the game yesterday, to me the Giants looked very loose, very comfortable, and the Vikings played scared, I thought. And so that's an example. I don't know if house money is exactly the right term, but I think there's definitely something to be said for a team that, and we sure saw it with the Phillies against St. Louis and against Atlanta, that nobody expected anything, so they said, hey, fellas, let's just go play.
It's a fair comment, Tomo. How do you see it?
Well, I mean, when you go back to 2017, the Eagles embraced that whole underdog role with the dog masks, and that's not why they won. But it took a lot of the pressure off of them because
But they put pressure on themselves, didn't they? The public may not have, the media may not have, but in that locker room, they put pressure on themselves to say, we're not the little engine of the poor. We're going to go out and beat this team, didn't they?
Well, they wanted that chip on their shoulder, that motivation. I mean, every team is looking for that. But the counter to what the Giants have right now, if you're assuming they're playing with house money, is the pressure on the Eagles. I mean, nobody's looking and saying, "Oh, well, they got injuries," so it's they're not, they're this game's not. Yeah, I mean, you look at what Vegas thinks. I mean, what 8-point favorites?
7.5.
That's I mean, they're clearly playing with pressure on them, and they've got to just shake that off and go out there and prove that last game against the Giant backups was not who they are going to be going forward in the playoffs.
All right, assuming I think both your comments are very fair, which I obviously do, Ray, then how does that manifest itself? To me, it manifests itself in one big way. If you start fast, if you get ahead, I root for the Eagles to lose a coin toss every week because I think deferring is ridiculous. If you have a great offense and go down the field, get ahead. That's a way to take pressure off yourself. I think the pressure creeps in the game. The longer it goes and the more you're struggling and the more the scoreboard stays even or the wrong way, that's where you face pressure. I think if you start early, get a nice lead, it kind of evaporates that stuff. To me, that's the key to the game, to get a fast start and take the pressure off you. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think that's part of it. I think they have to try to establish early in the game that Hurts is Hurts. That he can run that offense the way he ran it earlier in the year. And that when they line up in the shotgun, if he's in a single set backfield, that he is a threat to run, that he isn't restricted to the pocket. Because you got a defensive coordinator on the other side that if he feels like he isn't going to run, then Wink Martindale says, All right, boys, we got this one.
Let me interrupt you for a second then. Is that something Shane Steichen or Nick Sirianni with their play calls should manifest? Is that a mindset Jalen Hurts has to have? Is it both? What do you think the key is there?
The key is his health. No coach can make him healthy.
No, but do you think they're going to call running plays to try to get the Giants to back off, or even if Jalen's not healthy, the mindset might be that way?
Well, if he's not
healthy, you can't run him.
Yeah.
If he's legitimately hurt, and that's why I've had some people talking about the last game that he played. Well, he was rusty. He's not rusty. He's injured. And there's a big difference between the two, and that's now we'll see with 2 weeks rest how much better he can be. But if he is as limited as he was in the last game of the season, they're going to have trouble because they're not going to be able to run their whole play. They're not going to be able to run their whole offense.
Yeah.
It's going to bog down, and you've got a defensive coordinator here who saw him and coached against him that last game of the season, he's going to be looking like a hawk during pregame warm-ups to see what kind of shape Hurts is in, and he's going to set his defense accordingly. It's going to be – I'm telling you, this game is going to be a struggle. I just see this one coming as going to be a struggle.
Well, let me ask you this, Damo. I mean, you talk about Wink Martindale, their defense coordinator. Their head coach was Hurts' offensive coordinator his freshman year at Alabama. I assume he knows the good Jalen Hurts from the injured Jalen Hurts from the whatever Jalen Hurts. How much a big deal is that Dable knows Hurts so well?
He doesn't know what. I mean, we're talking about a possible separated shoulder, at the very least a bad sprain. He never, what he knows about Jalen Hurts is as long as there's a heartbeat, Jalen Hurts is going to go out there and play. That's not the problem. I mean, he'll if he can barely lift his arm, Jalen will play. But how much do you risk letting him run if you know going into the game as his coach that that's the situation? You want to protect him, and that's where if you protect him, you're also basically letting Wink Martindale know, that he's not going to run in the red zone, and we're going to be able to do different things than we would if we had to be worried about him running in the red zone.
I think it's key that most people understand that the quarterback is a key in the NFL, that Jalen Hurts' health is a huge dynamic about Saturday night's game. But there are other injuries the Eagles have. Lane Johnson, obviously a huge one. The adductor muscles, which Damo says, and I agree, doctors have said to me, and Damo, basically like a sports hernia. Aaron Sippis, the punter, will be back. Josh Sweat's a big deal. Will he play? Avonte Maddox apparently out with a toe injury. Look at all the injuries, Ray, and tell me which of those matters the most.
Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
Lane Johnson. Because you see what the offensive line is without him. The other guys are really good. We've talked about how good they are tackle to tackle. But you take Lane Johnson away, look how different it was. Look how much pressure they were able to get. He is that good. And I know, look, he's as tough as they come. And he's certainly going to play. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to get on the field. But Lane is a finesse player. He's not a power player. He's a finesse player. Footwork and all that stuff is critical to him being effective. And that kind of an injury can really hamper a guy like him. I think a big power, if this was like Mailata, I think Mailata could probably play through it better than a guy who technique and footwork is as critical as it is to Lane. I think this is a really, really severe injury. I hope he can make it through the game, but it wouldn't surprise me if he has to come out from time to time just to take a break. And anytime he's off the field, they're less of a team.
Yeah. People always say, can Lane play? Well, Lane can be wheeled out in a wheelchair and be physically there. It's how much of you can you give more than are you going to be there, isn't it?
Like Ray said, it's going to affect his movement, and they're going to know that. They know what his injury is. They're going to make him move laterally. They're going to make him do the things that they know he probably can't do because of the injury. I know Lane talked to Cam Jordan from the Saints, who had a similar injury, defensive player, but asked him about and Cam admitted, he says, I wasn't very good when after I got hurt, which is not what Lane wanted to hear. Whatever shots he can get, he's going to get. Lane, just like Jalen, is one of the toughest guys I've ever met. But that's not what you're dealing with here. You may be tough, you may be able to endure the pain, but when it goes, when you've got to make that quick movement to block a guy, and you can't do it, what are you going to do?
All right, we're going to take a look around the NFL. We're going to keep taking a look at the Eagles game. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at Kevin Patullo. Who? We'll find out. Here at the Hard Rock Cafe, happy hours every Monday to Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. $1 off Bud Light, Sam Adams, and Blue Moon Draft, $6 House Chardonnay and Merlot, $5 Smirnoff and Cruz and Rum singles, $7 for doubles, and Friday Night Live every Friday night, 6 to 9 p.m. with No Cover, the best local artists on the main stage every week. Make your reservations, www.hardrock.com, or we're back with the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff to talk about Kevin Patullo. Seriously, right after this.
Cafe has it all. Great food takes center stage as they tune up your visit with free live music every Friday night at 6. Sponsored by Conshohocken Brewing Company. See Philly's best rocking the main stage while you enjoy Hard Rock favorites right here in Center City. Pickup, delivery, and catering available. For more info, visit hardrockcafe.com.
I'm always striving to live my healthiest life, so I need a health plan that has my back. With Independence Blue Cross, I get access to the largest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free virtual doctor visits 24/7. Plus, with premiums as low as $0 per month, I can stay on top of my health and keep my budget in check. Independence has given me coverage I can count on, and they'll do the same for you. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
Fall into relaxation at Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa. For an introductory price of just $69.95, enjoy the tranquility of their massage services and the rejuvenating glow their facial services provide. They even have specialty services such as a pumpkin facial or their signature hot stone massage. Restore, relax, and reset at one of Hand and Stone's 57 locations in Delaware, South Jersey, and Philadelphia, including the Lehigh Valley, for an introductory price of just $69.95. Call or book online at handandstone.com. Restrictions apply. See spa for details.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Currently featuring a holiday promotion. If you reserve your party now, your guests are rewarded with 2 gifts of your choosing. Contract required. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Hard Rock Cafe, Philadelphia in downtown Center City for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and Paul Domowitch.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, live from Hard Rock Cafe, Philly. Don't forget, you can watch the show live at WBCBSports.com and Facebook Live by searching WBCB Sports. Join us here at the Hard Rock for live entertainment in the cafe every Wednesday. Enjoy some great food and happy hour drink specials in the new renovated Hard Rock Cafe every Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m. We have the great Ray Didinger with us, Paul Jolovitz and Paul Domowitch with Ray on the Monday Night Kickoff. And Eagles coaching staff, a lot of people think it's going to be poached this offseason with Jonathan Gannon interviewing with the Texans and perhaps others, Shane Steichen, the OC, Brian Johnson, the quarterback coach, Ray, but there's another guy named Kevin Patullo who's the passing game coordinator, whatever that means. I understand titles, but I think I'm one of these people that think NFL teams just have way too many assistant coaches that overlap too many of the same responsibilities. But Kevin Patullo, the passing game coordinator, interviewed for the offensive coordinator with the Jets. How many coaches do you think the Eagles will lose one way or the other?
Well, you're right. I mean, typically, every team that has a great season, their coaching staff gets raided. And sometimes it can really devastate a team. I mean, if you look at the latter third of Andy Reid's time in Philadelphia, his success rate in Philadelphia went down with each assistant coach that left. Because when he started, honestly, I've been covering this team forever, it seems. And his original coaching staff was the best coaching staff I've ever seen. Yeah. I mean, it was on both sides of the ball. I mean, and a lot of those guys, I didn't know who they were. You know, I didn't know who Steve Spagnuolo was. I didn't know who Brad Childress was. I knew John Harbaugh, of course, and I knew Rod Dowhower had been around. But a lot of those guys I didn't. I knew Jim Johnson, but a lot of those guys were total strangers to me. Yeah. Ron Rivera, I mean, Leslie Frazier. And it's turned out that these guys were really good coaches. I mean, became head coaches and took teams to Super Bowls. Yep. So, and they were all helping Andy that whole time. And that's one of the reasons why that initial group had such a great run. But every time one of those guys would leave, John Harbaugh leaves, and all of a sudden Rory Seacrest becomes your special teams coach. Well, guess what? You're not as good. And so you know, a lot of these guys are going to wind up leaving, and the fans are going to say, so what, just get another coach. But if a team's really successful, it's not just because of the guy at the top. His coordinators and the position coaches were a big part of why that team was successful. And if you start chipping away at that, your team will suffer in the long run.
I mean, if I had to guess, you know, Gannon's the one guy they lose. The problem is this league has become the owners are so infatuated with finding the next offensive wizard that it's probably going to, you know, you worry that Sean Steichen is going to leave. And I don't think Sean Steichen, I wouldn't be as concerned about losing him as Gannon, because I think Brian Johnson, the quarterback's coach, is very talented. He's got offensive coordinators experience in college, had some head coaching offers in college before he came to the Eagles. You know, we've seen, you know, I mean, Steichen gets all the credit for, you know, for Jalen's improvement, but the quarterback coach is the guy that spends every day with him. And I don't think Brian Johnson gets enough credit for that. So, you know, if Steichen stays, does somebody else hire Brian Johnson as an offensive coordinator? You know, that'd be what I'd be concerned about. If Steichen goes, you could always promote Johnson. You know, but I think my guess right now, and it's based just on gut, is that Jonathan Gannon is the one guy they lose.
All right, well, it's interesting because the interviews in person start tomorrow with Sean Payton in Denver, and from there, as the coaching carousel spins. Ray, to split the infinitive from your last comment, Andy Reid with a great staff. He didn't have this guy on his coaching staff to start his career in Philadelphia. He had him as his starting quarterback. He's now a coach. His name is Doug Peterson. He did some stuff here in Philly that you might remember. He's now in Jacksonville, coming back from 27 down. That's the opening game on Saturday, the Andy and Doug Bowl for Eagle fans. Ray is very happy because Ray had a golf date scheduled with Brandon Staley on Wednesday that now he's going to have a chance to keep. Any other games really intriguing this weekend, Andy and Doug? And to me, Wild Card Weekend was fascinating. This coming weekend will be equally fascinating. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. This is always my favorite weekend. Is the weekend with the 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. I mean, you're down to the very, very best teams, and I always look forward to this weekend. It's going to be great. I thought last weekend I was very curious about last weekend because you had so much newness to it. I mean, 7 of the quarterbacks started over the weekend were starting their first postseason game.
Yeah.
So it made what is by nature a very unpredictable weekend. Wild Card Weekend is always an unpredictable weekend. But the fact that you were dealing with so many new quarterbacks that had never played in the postseason before, I thought just ratcheted up the suspense factor. So it was great. And you know, certainly the Charger Jaguar game was one people will always remember. Certainly both in those cities will always remember it. And hats off to Doug Peterson. I mean, the job that he's done. When you take that, I mean, that was just a woe-begone franchise after what Urban Meyer did to it. And they were well on their way to ruining a great young talent in Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he was on his way to David Carville. And Doug Peterson went there and turned the whole thing around. And this year you saw what Trevor Lawrence the beginning of what he could be. And you know, you look at what Doug did with Carson Wentz. You look at what Doug has done with coaches and with quarterbacks in the past. He's doing it now with a true blue chip talent, and that's going to be fun to watch.
Domo, I was confused watching that game as Doug Peterson thrived and Trevor Lawrence thrived and Brandon Staley sunk slowly in the West. I was surprised they didn't throw to Mike Williams more in the red zone. Their best receiver, to me, could have made a huge difference in that game. Why didn't they throw to him more?
Because he wasn't out there.
Why did his coach didn't play him that final meaningless week? 3 quarters wouldn't have done that, would he?
One of the many reasons Brandon Staley may lose his job.
To me, Ray, that's just ridiculous. Why do you play people? I mean, coaches would die to have a bye at this time of year, and now you're basically getting a bye like the Giants and the Chargers had the last week, and you're playing important people for no reason whatsoever.
For no reason. I've never understood that. And it was really funny when the Giants were coming into their final week of the season against the Eagles. If you were reading the New York papers and listening to the New York radio, the people were all these guys were coming down on Brian Daboll and reminding him, you know, Tom Coughlin, that last game of the season against the Patriots, he played his guys. Yeah. They went out and they played their butts off, and that's why they won the Super Bowl. And they're sort of pressuring Daboll to come out and play his guys in that final game. which would have been so stupid. I mean, now, fortunately, Dable, he was smart enough to say, he sort of humored them all week and said, well, we'll see what we're going to do. He never had any intention of playing Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley in that final game. The Eagles had to. I mean, the Eagles had to because they needed it for the number 1 seed. Yeah. The game meant nothing to the Giants. And so they sat out their guys, and then you saw they came out and they played their butts off in Minnesota. So, yeah, I mean, you get to that point in the season where you can sit your guys for a week before the playoffs start and get them rested, get them healthy, get them ready to go. It's absolutely the right thing to do.
Brandon Staley is why you should never hire a head coach in the NFL who's less than 4 years removed from John Carroll University. I mean, come on.
Yeah, something against John Carroll?
No, Division III. I mean, come on. Hire a head coach. Everybody's wants to beat the next guy to the next young genius, and that's what happens.
Yeah, he doubled down on it too. My problem with people is not just making mistakes, but doubling down on those mistakes. Yeah. Daryl Morey comes to mind, but we'll talk about the Sixers another day.
Well, let me ask you guys a question.
Yes, sir.
Because I haven't had a chance to ask you this, but, I mean, you're both plugged into the NFL. Tell me Jeff Saturday is not going to be the head coach of the Colts going into next year.
It depends on whether Jim Irsay is clinically insane or not, I think.
Well, he has
that jury's in already.
about 10 years ago,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, no, we're not waiting on that one, Paul. We're just wondering what the aftershock of this is going to be.
I'm told that it's his job to keep if he wants it.
That's what I've heard too. That's what I've heard too, and I said I can't believe that.
I'm only hoping that Jeff Saturday says, no.
No. What, are you sick?
Trevor Lawrence never loses on Saturday, and Jeff Saturday never wins on Sunday. So, yeah, it's one owner. Yeah. If somebody's truly nuts.
This is why, just look at, you wonder why there's bad franchises like, what's going on in Arizona. Just look at the Bidwills. I mean, you wonder why, the Colts have struggled.
Hold a second. 5 minutes ago, the Cardinals just hired a new general manager. I'd never heard of the guy's name in my life. I'm not as plugged in as you two are. But the new Cardinal general manager isn't exactly a 9.5 on the recognition
because he was
scale.
on a bus with Bill Belichick for a couple of days, and that was enough,
Honestly, I've never heard of him.
If you've never heard of somebody, they're not there, basically.
No. I never heard of him. When you sort of threw that out there, can you tell me who this guy is? I had no idea. And then you told me he had just been named general manager of the Arizona Cardinals. Yep. On the one hand, I said I can't believe it. But then on the other hand, I said, oh, no, it's the Cardinals. I can believe it.
I got one question for you, Ray, though. A lot of people are going to be interested in this. I looked at my guide on TV today and leafed through the papers and obviously the Internet I perused. I'm just not sure who's going to be on the post-game coverage of the Eagle-Giants game Saturday night on NBC Sports Philadelphia. I hear that you're very plugged in. Could you help us out with that one?
Yeah, it's going to be me.
Wow.
They reached out about 4 weeks ago and asked if, with the Eagles going to the postseason, if I'd be willing and or interested in coming back and being part of the game day coverage, doing the pregame show and the postgame show. And I talked it over with my wife. I didn't give an immediate response.
She did not threaten divorce.
No, I didn't want to, but I also didn't want to go down Tom Brady, Gisele Bundchen land either. So I talked it over with my wife, and I said, listen, and she said, I get it. They got a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah, sure. So.
I get it, and I'll be in France. Call me when you're done.
That's right. I'll be under the Louvre. Just let me know. But she gave me the green light, so I agreed to do it. And so I will be back this Saturday doing both pre and post. And I should mention, I just found out that Ron Jaworski is not going to be there. He has a previous commitment, so he can't do it. So I don't want anybody who tunes in and sees me sitting in Ron's chair and think that I got him fired, okay?
Well,
he had family business he had to take care of.
Who's the guy, Lou Gehrig?
Wally Pipp.
Wally Pipp, that's right.
He will be back. If the Eagles are still alive in Championship Sunday, he will be there.
A lot of happy Philadelphia fans hearing that, Ray. Everybody loves you, and we're all looking forward to that Saturday night. Yeah. When we come back, Damo's got something else to do this week, too, other than this show and writing for the 33rdteam.com. Very interesting task Paul Domowitch has tomorrow. He'll tell you about it. You'll be interested in it, and we'll see what it means to Eagle fans and fans around the NFL as the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff comes back from the Hard Rock Cafe right after this. Stay with us.
Cafe in Center City at 12th and Market Streets has it all. Great food takes center stage with dine-in and pickup available. Their burgers are so famous, they have their own chauffeurs. So order delivery and catering too. So if you're celebrating or just getting the band together, Hard Rock Cafe's got your back. For more info, hit up hardrockcafe.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
Fall into relaxation at Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa. For an introductory price of just $69.95, enjoy the tranquility of their massage services and the rejuvenating glow their facial services provide. They even have specialty services such as a pumpkin facial or their signature hot stone massage. Restore, relax, and reset at one of Hand and Stone's 57 locations in Delaware, South Jersey, and Philadelphia, including the Lehigh Valley, for an introductory price of just $69.95. Call or book online at handandstone.com. Restrictions apply. See spa for details.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Currently featuring a holiday promotion. If you reserve your party now, your guests are rewarded with 2 gifts of your choosing. Contract required. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Hard Rock Cafe Philadelphia in downtown Center City for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and Paul Domowitch.
Alrighty, back here at the Hard Rock with 2 football legends, Paul Domowitch and Ray Didinger. And Domo, when you have the resume that you do and that Ray does, you don't have one job in the NFL. And one of your jobs, which you've had for quite a while, is you're a Hall of Fame voter. One of those people that goes into the room the day before the Super Bowl at the Super Bowl site with the 15 finalists and tries to elect people to the Hall of Fame. Well, it's not anymore at the Super Bowl site. COVID has changed that a little. It's on Zoom tomorrow. 15 finalists waiting to hear their name. Eric Allen, not one of them. I think very few people that aren't in Hall of Fames should be in Hall of Fames. I think Eric Allen's one of them. To me, it's a Hall of Fame. To me, there's only one question to answer. Is it true greatness or is it not? I don't care about numbers. You can make anybody look good with any kind of numbers you want, and once in a while, numbers will guide you a little bit. But tell us about tomorrow, the conference, and who you think may get in.
Yeah, tomorrow's the, like you said, we used to do this the Saturday before the Super Bowl, as
Mr. Didinger used
Ray
to be
well
on the
knows.
committee,
One of the reasons I've been doing it for the last 22 years because Ray left the sports writing business and went to NFL Films in the late 90s. So since the pandemic, we've been doing it the last 4 years on Zoom. We'll spend about 8 hours debating the 15 finalists and voting on them.
Any locks this year?
I think so. There's a couple first-time eligible players. Joe Thomas, the former Cleveland Browns offensive tackle, who I think probably is a lock. Also, another first-time guy, the former cornerback Darrelle Revis. I think we can pretty much call him a lock. After that, open season. It kind of depends. You're looking at defensive linemen. You've got Jared Allen, DeMarcus Ware, Dwight Freeney.
Ware's a first-timer, right?
Freeney is a first-timer. Ware and Allen have been they've been finalists before.
Okay.
Offensive lineman Willie Anderson from the Bengals. Besides Joe Thomas, I don't see him being a serious contender this year. This is his first year in the finals.
I think Freeney will make it, don't you?
I think he's on the border, but I think it's possible unless, the problem is it's his first time. So there's some sentiment lately to put in guys that have been waiting when that, eventually another guy will get in like Freeney.
Right.
So, 3 wide receivers who have been last few years have been finalists, and they keep seeming to canceling each other out. Are Torrey Holt from the Rams, Andre Johnson, who played for Houston, and Reggie Wayne, who was with Peyton at the Colts.
These Hall of the very good guys to you, or are they Hall of Famers?
They're Hall of Famers. Certainly, at least one or two of them. I have some questions about Torrey Holt. I've tried to. I've spent a lot of time with numbers and with film, looking at them and trying to figure out what kind of how to rate them, because you're not going to get 3 guys in a year.
Yep.
So that's to be determined.
Dick Vermeil has done his very best to make a case for Torrey Holt. I mean, he's called up every sports writer he knows to try and make the case for Torrey Holt. I mean, he truly believes. Like, he did the same thing for Isaac Bruce. He wants to get his guys in.
Sure,
so he got Bruce in, and now he's trying his best to get Torrey in. But what you said about 3 or 4 guys at a position sort of blocking each other, it happens. I mean, it happened with Tommy McDonald.
Yeah.
I mean, Tommy came up right at the same time. It was Don Maynard, Fred Biletnikoff, and Tommy were all up at the same time. And in my mind, all of them very worthy.
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't say, well, he should be in, but the other 2 shouldn't. They were all worthy. But the trouble was they were splitting that vote, and it was hard for them, any one of them, to get enough votes to get in. So it made it, each guy had to wait a lot longer than he probably should have.
Well, politics are a big part of life in any arena you go into, and I would call you guys, I hope you're not offended by this in any way, Ray and Damo, both steak guys over sizzle guys. You want to demand performance, and a guy like Eric Allen, to use him as our example, to me, he or anybody else that you think had a great career and should be in, there are certain things that Eric Allen doesn't have that a lot of people need. Eric Allen played on a defense with great players and kind of got lost in the shuffle at times. He had 54 interceptions. He never said a word controversially. He didn't have that sizzle. He wasn't controversial. He didn't do stupid things and keep himself in the news. Now he's retired. He's got a normal name. He's like the Joe Smith of the NFL. How much, Ray, does that hurt someone to not have that sizzle factor? And Eric Allen, in your opinion, is he a Hall of Famer in waiting or not?
Oh, yeah. I've thought that for a long time. I thought he would have been in by now, to be honest with you, because all the things you're looking for, he's got. Longevity, durability.
6-time All-Pro.
All pros, numbers. He's got the interceptions. And a lot of touchdowns, a lot of big plays.
Yeah, he's like 5th in interception in pick sixes.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, I think he gets overshadowed a little bit by that defense. I think to the same way that I think Seth Joyner does a little bit. Yeah. And they're all kind of now living in the shadow of Reggie. But I think that Eric absolutely should be one of these guys. When I was voting, I used to try to, and this isn't an absolutely perfect way of looking at it, but I tried, was I would look at guys who were in the Hall of Fame, and I would look at my player, and I would say, how does he stack up to this guy? Because this guy's in. Yeah. Okay, so let's stack this guy up against the guy who's in, and sometimes that's your measuring stick, and when I look at the Eric Allen case, to me, I look at Aeneas Williams. Yeah. To me, they were contemporaries. They played at the same time. They played in the same division. They played the same opponents. And Aeneas Williams, look, I'm not saying Aeneas shouldn't be in. Aeneas should. He was a Hall of Fame player. But if Aeneas Williams is in, then Eric Allen should be in.
Do you think they get, in baseball, this is more of a problem than football, I think Hall of Fames get diluted sometimes by letting a Harold Baines in and then comparing people to Harold Baines, and it just goes down and down by little woodchuck levels over the years. I don't like that. I'm not saying Aeneas Williams is or isn't, but how big a problem is it that guys get in that shouldn't, and then you compare people to them and put other guys in that shouldn't, and before long you have a Hall of Fame of the very good.
I don't feel that dilution is a problem with the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's much less in football than in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, every year when I look at the list of finalists, I always feel there's at least 10 of those guys belong in. It's just you're not going to get 10 in a year. So you got to decide. You got to rate them. I mean, I've been trying. I mean, I can't tell you how hard I've been trying to get Eric Allen in, and I can't explain why. It's he's made the semifinals the last 3 years,
well,
and I thought this year it was going to be the year that he was going to make it. I think there's two things working against him, and it's because and it's the fault of the people in the room because they're so infatuated with two things. One is Super Bowls.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. For people who have no idea how the process goes, when you say you've been trying to get a guy in or somebody else when you're on the Zoom call tomorrow, what you're about to say, please say it, but tell everybody about the process of how someone gets in.
Well, tomorrow's I'm not going to. Eric Allen's name isn't going to come up.
But for the 50,
I mean, I send letters out
okay.
During the course of the year, making a case for a guy that I feel like Eric Allen belongs in. I did it with Sam Mills, and he got in last year. I helped with Dick Vermeil, like he did with Tommy McDonald. I mean, you chip away at people that don't seem to have you can't figure out why. I think two problems with Eric, why people seem to be reluctant to vote for. I mean, there's enough support that he made it to the final 25. I just can't get him over the top. One is Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
That the room, and I'm sure this was the case when you were a voter, Ray, is slanted towards teams that win Super Bowls. I mean, that's why the Steelers have more than they should in there probably, the Dolphins, the Packers. I mean, the Eagles had one of the greatest defenses in the history of the game in the late 80s and early 90s with all those guys, but they didn't win a Super Bowl. And I compare that to Tampa Bay, which, they played a cover 2. And yet, Warren Sapp's in there. Derek Brooks is in there. John Lynch made it. And Rondé Barber has been a finalist for this is his 5th year.
Yep.
I, for the life of me, if he gets in before Eric Allen, it's going to really piss me off. But it could happen. And it's because, I think because the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl championship is one reason. Another is that they lean too heavily on all-decade teams, which are voted on by the Pro Football Hall of Fame selection committee too. Yep. But it depends on, Eric Allen played in an era when I'm trying to think who the all-decade players were. It was Deion Sanders and Rod Woodson were I think the first team. The second team also are in the Hall of Fame. So you can't say, well, I'm not going to put him in the Hall of Fame. He wasn't even all-decade. Well, if the 4 guys in front of him were, yeah, you can.
See, I love your passion, Domo. I love anybody who's passionate about anything, as most people probably know. But it's great that you guys have the passion for this. You're both Hall of Fame voters. With that said, obviously a lot of people are in, a lot of people are not in, that you two and every other voter thinks should be in. Ray, give me one player, the guy who's gotten screwed the absolute most, who's not in the Hall of Fame. I'm talking about a first-year guy, but somebody who's had a chance for a few years that you think is an obvious Hall of Famer other than Eric Allen, who can't get in for whatever reason.
I would say I kind of put Sam Mills in that category, but Damo finally got him in. I'll stay local. I've thought Bill Bergey for a long time. I think Bergey. It's a little bit it's just the eye test. Yeah. I think what you said, Paul, a little while ago, you said I don't need numbers to know greatness, and I think that's true, especially true with guys at the linebacker position. I saw him. I saw him play. I know he was a great player. I don't need numbers to tell me he was a great player. And to go back to the idea of comparison again, I look at Harry Carson. Harry Carson, again, a contemporary of Bergey's, played at the same time, played in the same division, played the same teams, played the same position. And Harry Carson's in the Hall of Fame. Again, I think deservedly so. But if Harry Carson's in the Hall of Fame, yep, Bill Bergey should be in the Hall of Fame, because I'll tell you, and this is another one of the criteria I had. Sometimes if you're looking at players, you would say, okay, tomorrow you're playing the Super Bowl. This was easier to do when tomorrow actually was the Super Bowl. Okay, tomorrow you're playing the Super Bowl, and you have a choice between playing this guy or playing this guy. Who would you play? I mean, I used that argument with Lynn Swann. I was a big Lynn Swann guy, and there was tremendous pushback against Lynn Swann because he didn't have a ton of catches because of the offense he played in. I mean, they ran Franco all the time, yep, and he had another Hall of Fame receiver on the other side. So the one year was up, and it was Charlie Joyner and Lynn Swann were up together in the same year. And I could tell by the conversation and the chatter in the room that Charlie Joyner was going to go in. And I was hearing all the same pushback on Lynn Swann. And so finally, I just couldn't take it anymore. And I said, okay, fellas, how about this? Tomorrow the game's being played, okay, and you're the coach. And you're gonna go out and play the game tomorrow. And you can have either Charlie Joyner or Lynn Swann as your receiver. Is there a single guy in this room that would tell me you would take Charlie Joyner over Lynn Swann in a Super Bowl? if that's true, then how can we sit here today and put Charlie Joyner in the Hall of Fame and keep Lynn Swann out?
You think too
It was
logically,
such a
right?
great argument that Charlie Joyner went in and Lynn Swann didn't.
That's why you're who you are. I mean, you boil things down, and it's an incredible thing. I mean, it really is, Domo.
Yeah.
All right, bunch of questions about Wild Card Weekend. Now the Bills and the Bengals play again. It should be fascinating. On the negative side, Ray, you mentioned 7 guys started that hadn't played quarterback before. There's one guy that people think may be in danger of not playing another game in his career. Tua Tagovailoa had a couple concussions this year. He may have had more. We saw them. You saw the scene on the field earlier this season. Guys, does he ever play another game in the NFL?
Right. I think there's a real concern there. I don't know that he's going to be back. I mean, he's going to have some. I'm sure he's seeing a lot of specialists this offseason and is going to weigh things. But I mean, he's had he's had at least 3 serious ones. I think there's a real question of whether he'll ever play again.
Right? I think it's his call. I think he really has to meet with all the specialists and this offseason give it a real long think as to, look, he's a really talented guy. He obviously could play in this league and win a lot of games, but is it worth it?
Yeah.
Is it really worth jeopardizing your health and your long-term existence to play 5 more years of football?
All you've got to do is
risk?
look at the history of some guys that have, committed suicide, that are suffering from CTE. I mean.
Yep, it's a very real problem, and you hope they make the right decision. You hope if it's left up to the player that he gets plenty of help. And we'll take a look at some of the games this weekend. My college classmate, Kevin Warren, just named president of the Chicago Bears, the ex-Big Ten commissioner, got a game tonight, the Cowboys and the Bucs. We'll find out who Ray and Damo like. There's also a quarterback playing out in San Francisco who seems to be convincing people he's not bad, Brock Purdy. What do Ray and Damo think of him? We'll find out when we roll on. Final segment of the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff continues after this.
Cafe in Center City has it all. Great food, free live entertainment on Friday nights, and they're the epicenter for special occasions. Let them rock and roll to you with catering for your next gathering or book a private event space for your band's next meeting. Whether it's lunch, dinner, or late night, let them turn it up at Hard Rock Cafe at 12th and Market Street. For more info, visit hardrockcafe.com.
I'm always striving to live my healthiest life, so I need a health plan that has my back. With Independence Blue Cross, I get access to the largest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free virtual doctor visits 24/7. Plus, with premiums as low as $0 per month, I can stay on top of my health and keep my budget in check. Independence has given me coverage I can count on, and they'll do the same for you. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
Hang out alone in the man cave this football season. Hang out at Cheerleaders with sexy entertainers, $4 Miller Lights, Jameson specials, and awesome game day prizes during all Sunday and Monday football games. Stop in before, during, or after the game to see your favorite entertainers and your chance to win an awesome game day prize. The most epic game day experience is at Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, where champions play. Open daily from noon till 2 a.m.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Currently featuring a holiday promotion. If you reserve your party now, your guests are rewarded with 2 gifts of your choosing. Contract required. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Hard Rock Cafe, Philadelphia in downtown Center City for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and Paul Domowitch.
And back to our show. We'd like to thank all the fans who come out every week. We appreciate it. We'll be here until the Eagles go south or win the Super Bowl, hopefully the latter. Happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody. One of the great Americans in history celebrated today. Ray Didinger, Paul Domowitch, and I are here at the Hard Rock. And Cowboys and the Bucks tonight, guys. Final game of Wild Card Weekend. Obviously, the winner of this game goes to San Francisco to play the Niners. Who you got?
This is tougher than it should be. I mean, I would have thought a couple of weeks back, Cowboys. If you said these guys were going to meet each other, I would have said the Cowboys in a walk. But I mean, Dak Prescott's struggling so badly right now that the Cowboys are not who they were 3 weeks ago. Maybe they get it together tonight. And Tom Brady, I mean, you can't give up on him. But I'm going to say the Cowboys. They're going to put enough pressure inside on Brady to keep the Bucs from scoring a whole lot of points, and I think they'll run the ball on Tampa, and I think they'll win. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think we're looking at probably like 17-16 or 17-14, but I'd like to see the Bucs win.
Yeah, if it's, of course, I'm sure. Well, I was going to say I think everybody in Philadelphia is rooting against the Cowboys. Tom Brady's not exactly a big fan favorite here either. But given the choice, I suspect people are probably rooting for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
The Cowboys are, they've been this way. They're like a bipolar team. I mean, and they've been this way for a long time. If you catch them on the wrong day, man, they're good. I mean, I've seen them this year just crush teams.
Yeah.
And then you saw the final game they played in Washington. They were terrible.
Yep.
Yeah.
So okay,
That one's inexplicable.
take your pick. I mean, which team's going to show up? I'm with Damo in that I just think that the Tampa Bay offensive line is not particularly good.
Yeah.
And Dallas can get after the quarterback. And that's why I just think that they're going to bring enough pressure. As great as Brady is, and we all know he's the best, if the times that he has struggled, it has been when teams surround him and bring pressure on the pocket. And I think tonight that's going to be the difference.
Yeah. All right, riddle me this then, two Batman. Brandon Staley went from head coach of the Chargers to man on a high wire act, a flying well-ended, many of the Americans' eyes after what happened Saturday night. Jerry Jones is known as a very impulsive guy. He can get to where he is by waiting for things to happen. A lot of people think, Ray, that if Mike McCarthy gets whacked tonight with Jerry Jones' affinity for Sean Payton, that Mike McCarthy could be the way of the 10-cent cigar as well. Do you think he's coaching for his job tonight, or that there's any possibility of that?
I definitely think so. I mean, even though Jerry has been asked numerous times in the last couple weeks and has always said, no, Mike McCarthy's not coaching for his job, he's my coach. I can't imagine with everything that Jerry has invested in this and with the opportunity that they have, because this, if you look at where we are, this is still a very wide open tournament. It really is. I mean, there is no one big super team out there that nobody can knock off. So Jerry knows that, and Jerry in his own mind thinks that, we could get hot here and maybe run this thing. And if they lose tonight down there, if they lose tonight and they're one and done, I think McCarthy is too. That's just my guess.
Bravo.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, even though Jerry has basically said, no, I wouldn't think of that. You don't buy that.
Never gone back on his word, has he?
The question is, if he fires him, I mean, if you're Sean Payton, you've got L.A. right there. Seems to be where everybody wants to put him with the Chargers.
Denver.
Or Denver. But his ex-wife and kids are in Dallas. They made a movie about how much he wanted to spend that year with his kid. We'll find out if that job comes open. How much, because at some point Sean Payton would have to ask himself, do I want to work for Jerry Jones?
Yeah.
Right.
even if I want to spend more time with my kids. So I'd have a hard time believing he's going to end up there, but the fact that McCartney is playing for his job, I believe that.
Well, there's a lot of people who say the less you know about an owner, the less you know about umpires and officials and owners, the better off they are. The owner of the San Francisco 49ers is a guy who, through his relatives, his name is Jed York, 40-something guy, multi-trillionaire, obviously, the general manager, John Lynch. And with the last pick in last year's draft, Mr. Irrelevant was selected from Iowa State named Brock Purdy. They had a quarterback controversy with Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. The new and the pretty good, both of those guys got out, got whacked, got hurt. Brock Purdy comes in, and all of a sudden, Ray, it has that Brady-esque feeling again. I think it's ridiculous to compare anybody to Tom Brady at the beginning of their career no matter what they do. But what do you think of Brock Purdy? How legit is he? How much would you worry about him with that defense and everything with SF if they came to Philadelphia for a championship game?
Well, I think he's found the perfect situation. I mean, he's got tremendous offensive weapons. I mean, he's got McCaffrey, he's got Samuel.
That was a great trade, wasn't it? The Lynch made.
It was a great trade, and a lot of people didn't like it at the time. Oh, they're giving up too much for a guy that's always hurt. But when he's on the field, he's a dynamic player, and you put him on the field at the same time as Samuel. I mean, they just create incredible pressure on the defense. Then you've got Kittle, who's a tremendous tight end, and Ayuk, who's a very good receiver that you can't possibly do anything but single cover.
First run.
You have a not a great but a good offensive line, and you have a superb play caller whispering in his ear. So for a young quarterback, old quarterback, middle-aged quarterback, it doesn't matter. I mean, he's in as good a situation as any quarterback could be, and to his credit, he's taken advantage of it. I thought he looked a little nervous for the first time at the start of that game. The first half, it looked like it was one of those things like for the first time, like the alarm went off, and he sort of said, "Oh, geez,
look where I am.
I'm in the NFL." I mean, I was waiting for when that day would come, and I think it came against Seattle. But at halftime, he settled down, and he came out the second half and won, and he's for real, and that team is very for real.
Any comparison to him that you want to think of, Dom? Anybody who's done the same thing other than Brady?
No, I mean, you could look at some quarterbacks that, where the light went on early. The big thing with him is, besides the fact that he's just got this unnatural composure, which, to his credit.
Jalen-like, right?
Yeah. Is Kyle Shanahan. I mean, the play calling, the offense, the reliance on the run, where and the play action that you can use off of it. There's not a lot of pressure on him. I mean, there is because of who he is, third team quarterback. But I mean, this is the perfect offense for him. They've got the best defense in the league, also, so that helps. And he's got these weapons. I mean, Shanahan that offense. I'm kind of hoping it ends up being an NFC Championship game, Eagles, 49ers, because I just want to see how Jonathan Gannon defends that offense.
Right.
It's how he defends Deebo Samuel when they move them all around, how they defend Christian McCaffrey when you can't figure out where he is.
All right, well, it's all coming up this weekend, guys. 8:15, Ray Didinger will be on the pre- and post-game show, NBC Sports Philadelphia. It's awful early, Ray, but I'm going to predict I don't think the Eagles have that much trouble with the Giants. I respect the Giants. They're an NFL team. They have a very good coach. They have a very good quarterback. The Eagles have beaten them twice. I think they're going to beat them again. I'm going to pick the Eagles 37, the Giants 21. You? Either of you guys?
Walk-off field goal by Jake Elliott.
Yeah, I don't see it that high scoring. I would say 24-17. Yeah. I'll go Eagles. I think it's going to be a grinded-out kind of game.
All right, Damo. Back for another week next week. We'll be here as long as the Eagles are here. It's always an incredible treat to have Ray Didinger here. Ray,
Absolutely.
Continued success.
Thank you.
Have a great time Saturday night.
Always a pleasure to be with you guys.
And a very good pleasure.
Absolutely.
Damo, it's been wild. Good luck in the Hall of Fame room tomorrow, and report to
Thank
us
you.
with good stuff next week.
You betcha. Thanks, Jelly.
All right, this has been the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff from here at the Hard Rock Cafe. Chris Herman produced this fine program. Stephen Lawler, a great job back at the station. We'll be right back here, same bat time, same bat channel next week. For Ray Didinger and Paul Domowitch, I'm Paul Jolovitz saying have a great week, everybody, and go Eagles!
You've been listening to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Tonight's show is an exclusive presentation of WBCB 1490 and 107.3 FM and heard around the world at WBCB1490.com.